Live from Paradise Studios in Massapequa, New York, it's Unger the Radar, starring Randy Unger. Brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Tonight, Randy will be interviewing actor-filmmaker Joseph Culp of the new dramedy Welcome to the Men's Group. Randy will also be reviewing the new films Mobile Home, Speed Kills, and Mid-90s with special guest critics Jennifer Corbett, Chris Clemente, and Nick Commando. And now, here's your host, Randy Unger.
Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is another edition of Unger the Radar. We have a lot of show for you today. We actually have filmmaker and actor Joseph Culp of the new film Welcome to the Men's Group. He is on the phone right now. Joseph?
Hey Randy, how's it going? Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for being here in some respect. How are you today?
Well, I'm calling in from midnight in France, so, it just shows you the wonders of communication.
There you go. Welcome to the future. So tell me a little bit about Welcome to the Men's Group. I know you directed, you acted in it, you wrote it, I think you produced it as well. How did this project originally come about?
Well, good question. So Welcome to the Men's Group, which, just so your audience knows, a new feature film was just released in the last few months. It's now out on VOD. Which is it's a film about the inner life of men, which is to say, it is a comedy drama, very much a drama, but it's also quite funny, about a modern day men's group, a group of guys that get together to talk about their feelings about life and about each other. And this is a kind of a phenomenon that grew up over the last 20 to 30 odd years, where men felt compelled to skip the bar once in a while and the card game and actually come together in a sort of spiritual support group. And I experienced this for many years. I've been in men's groups. I find them terribly enriching and inspiring and terrific. And I think it's all part of the evolving modern day masculinity, if you will.
Okay.
And my background is I've been an actor for many, many years, and I started making feature films, independent films, probably about 15 years ago. And I just felt one day I was sitting in a men's group and I saw something extraordinary happen between the men, and I thought, my God, I wish I had a camera to capture that and show people what I just saw, which kind of gave me hope for humanity in a certain way. And so another guy in the men's group who also had a background in creativity and writing, we started talking, and he said, why don't we try and do something about that? Now, I'm not a documentary filmmaker, and you could make a documentary about a men's group, but that would also be difficult because of the anonymity involved.
Right.
So we made a narrative drama. A group of 8 guys meet on a single morning once a month. And on this particular day, these characters get into some conflicts with each other, and it kind of goes a bit into chaos.
Right.
Which men often do. And so, Scott Ben-Yashar is my co-writer. We worked on it for a couple of years crafting this script, and then went out, as men do, out there in the wilderness trying to find a way to make the film. And then eventually we found a way to do it, and we have an amazing cast. Stephen Tobolowsky,
right,
who everybody knows from Groundhog Day and Californication and the Goldbergs and everything else. Timothy Bottoms, amazing veteran actor from classic films of the 70s. David Clennon, I'm also in it, and Ali Sam and Phil Abrams and Terrence Rotolo. Anyway, an amazing cast. And we got it done, and now it is out there, and it's the only film, really, modern film that I know of, really about a men's group.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Now, what was it like assembling this fantastic cast?
Oh my goodness. Assembling a cast, as anyone will tell you, is a prodigious task, especially if you, shall we say, are doing an independent film with a modest budget, so you really can't buy the actors, right? You have to attract the actors that want to do it. And, you know, to be honest, we played that game a little while, for several months, of trying to make offers to people, and agents wouldn't even read the script, you know, and
Really?
there are actors today that are furious about it. They would have loved to have been in this film. But, you know, the agents won't even show them the script because, you know, the offer you're making isn't enough money. It's not even considered, you know, it's nothing, they sneeze at it.
Right.
So eventually it just went out to breakdowns we had some wonderful casting directors, Ronnie Yesko and Sharon Howard Field, both veteran casting directors, directed. Anyway, Ronnie Yesko did Reservoir Dogs and, you know, Pulp Fiction and dozens of others. And we started getting actors who did read the script, who were not turning their nose up at, you know, the paltry sum, and they came in to meet us. And I met with these actors. Stephen Tobolowsky was the first guy to come. He showed up himself.
Cool.
And he said, I love this script. What do you want me to do? And it just went one after another. And each guy in this film, if anyone will go out and take a look at it, is so perfectly suited to their role. It's almost like it was written for them. And, you know, we just went through it. Timothy Bottoms came down from his ranch in Big Sur to, you know, to meet with us. He wanted to do it. Dave Clennon, who people might know from, you know, The Thing and Hal Ashby films like Being There. And so we were just blessed, one after another, and it took us, you know, several weeks, and eventually we had this cast. And the thing about the cast is they were so committed to doing this story. It's like they wanted, all I can say is this, they wanted the experience of a men's group. There's no other reason they would have done the film. You know, I mean, artistically it had something to offer them. There's some really good writing for them. But I think they wanted to know, what is this thing? Where men get together and share brutally honest feelings about themselves, about their lives.
Right.
And we went and did that, and I managed to be able to shoot it and get it on film. So that was a bit of a miracle. And the film goes in places I think, Randy, you would agree that you might not expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it requires a certain gutsiness from these actors, and they all gave it 150%.
I
They
agree.
did not shrink back from having to take, you know, the next step and really be authentic, as we should say.
Now, you know, the film, it feels like a stage play. Was that your intention?
So, you know, the intention on that is this. Now, I'm a lover of film, and I'm definitely a film geek, and I love all types of films, you know, from dramas to horror to, you know, you name it. I grew up in the film industry. My father was a famous actor. Named Robert Culp. I have a great education with all of that. But when it came to this material, I said, you know, Scott and I, as we wrote it, I said, look, if anybody asked us to write a men's group, you know, they would want us to take the men's group, you know, on a car trip or, you know, do a road movie or go on a camping trip and meet up with hookers and rob a bank and all this shit would happen, you know, like The Hangover or something.
Right.
I said, but the fact is, we know that that's not the story we want to tell. We want to take a camera into this experience, like take an audience into it, which is very emotional. It's very raw. It's very confrontational. Sometimes very funny. And I said, if we can do that, I will be a happy man. But we can't do it if it's a lot of artifice, if it's a lot of ploys that you use in movies. So instead, we said, it's got to be like I don't know if you know, there's a very famous independent art film called My Dinner with Andre, which is really made by Louis Malle, a great French director, in the early 80s, which was two guys in a New York restaurant talking. And the film is a mind-blowing experience. It's just two guys talking, and yet what they do, what they go through in the conversation is extraordinary. And I said, basically, let's just do My Dinner with Andre with 8 guys, but we'll also allow conflict. Because it's a story, and a story has to have conflict. And in conflict, there's also extremity, and extremity means comedy sometimes. So, in answer to your, long-winded answer to your question, it is like a play, and we just said it's conversation, and we're going to film that, and these guys are going to act that, and I'll shoot it more or less like a play, except when it breaks out. It's a house movie, we like to say. You know, it takes place basically in a house.
And the backyard.
And in the environs around the house. There are flashbacks, there are other things that happen, but it's really about this almost like a real-time experience. So that means like a play. And so we went with that choice.
Now, was it easier to direct or act in the film?
Yeah, so that's always a question, is like, how do you do that? I wouldn't recommend directors to do a co-starring role or a starring role in their own film, generally. You know, directors really should be outside of it. But at a certain point, it became clear that it was best for me to play this role of Michael, who's kind of he's sort of the de facto unofficial group leader. And in a way, I understood the role very well, and it was based on experiences I've had, also experiences of other men I've known. And I felt like, no, this is okay, you know. As the leader of the group, my character is often telling guys what to do or suggesting things or whatever. So in a certain way, he's almost like the director of in the movie. And I said, it's kind of seamless, you know, I can direct and also act. And I have long experience directing myself in the theater. I've done a lot of theater and have a theater company. So I was familiar with that. And because of the controlled environment that we were in, it also made my job a bit easier, too. I had to put a lot of faith in my cinematographer because I couldn't be jumping up to check shots every time. But we shot it with 2 cameras, and somehow the script was inside me in a certain way because I had also written it. So I could kind of have one eye on the guys and then also let go. Just let go and act, you know, which is my job as an actor.
Nice.
So there was a lot of trust involved, let's put it that way, and a lot of risk. But ultimately, I think it worked fine.
Okay, so last question, and I'll let you go to sleep. Do you have a favorite memory from the production?
Favorite memory? Well, let's see. You know, what I'm proud of is that we had a really, really short schedule. And as I said, the actors were so prepared. We rehearsed for 5 days, which is also unheard of in Hollywood. Nobody rehearses. And so the actors were so on top of the language and the words that we could roll long takes, and I didn't have to cut. And if we made a mistake, I could just say, "Don't cut, jump back, fix that, and keep going." You know, to really track the roller coaster of emotions. I would say, you know, there was the day where it all really had to work. Was a day where the guys, I will just say this as an intrigue to your audience, There is nudity in this film. In fact, the LA Times said it just may be the most full frontal male nudity in any mainstream film ever in the history of movies. And I think
pretty
that may be
accurate.
true.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. It's not gratuitous. It's part of the story.
Right.
And, you know, as you might agree, it's just something that is one guy, Tobolowsky's character, kind of hijacks the group, and he puts them to the test. He says, "Are you really there for me, or are you not?" You know, and they have to show themselves.
I did not expect to see Stephen Tobolowsky's penis in this movie. I'll tell you that.
Well, not only do you see Tobolowsky's penis,
yeah, everyone else.
Which now we know exactly what it looks like, because if anyone ever watched Californication, he was supposed to have his character in that, Stu, was supposed to have this enormous penis, and everybody said to me, it's like, oh, but now they're going to really know what Tobolowsky's penis looks like. You know? I said, well, he's willing to do it, so I'm willing to do it.
And Joseph,
So
thank you for bringing that out.
7 other guys. So there's 8 penises on screen,
Right.
which is very
P9.
rare.
All right, so I have a second final question. What do you hope audiences take away from this film?
What I hope they take away is that men are very vulnerable. Men are full of fears and contradictions and passions and joy, and that these are feelings that we have not been allowed to express, you know, in society to a great degree. They're kind of taboo to be able to express our fears and our vulnerability. In fact, our fears and vulnerability may be our greatest strength on a certain level, because, you know, having to suppress all of that and be strong, which is the classic male character, you know.
Yeah.
This is killing men. Men are in depression. The suicide rate of men is higher than any other group. That has to change. And I want audiences to look at this film and have a more empathetic view of what men are going through today.
Right.
The pressures from financial to relationships to evolving messages about masculinity. These men in this film are struggling with all of that in a very direct way. And I just want them to, you know, come away with a sense like, I want a man to say, gee, I really do have those feelings, and maybe I shouldn't be so afraid to express them. And I want a woman to say, I'm so, and many do with this film, I'm so grateful I got to see men the way I would love to see them, which is a little more, you know, vulnerable, a little more open, and that they can see in the era of Me Too, at Time's Up, where we're getting very vilified. We need to move to the next part of that conversation, which is that, you know, men are people too. Men are just as disempowered as women in a certain way, and we both need to work on that. Both parts of both genders need to work on that together.
Okay.
And that men need community. They need a place to go that isn't just drinking and playing around, where they get sustenance. And I really believe in that, and I think the film shows that.
Definitely
So
does.
that's what I would like to do.
Awesome. Joseph, the film is great. It's definitely a true dramedy. It is both, you know, comedic and tragic, and it's really, it's a marvel. And I want to thank you today for being with us on Under the Radar.
Oh, Randy, I really appreciate you having me on. I appreciate your plug on the film.
Of course.
Please, anyone, right now you can get it on iTunes, Amazon, or Google Play, and it should be also coming to various cable networks. So please check it out. Welcome to the Men's Group. You won't be sorry. It's a real experience, this film.
It's great. And Joseph, if you're ever in Long Island, we'd love to have you come down to the studio for an in-person interview.
Let's make that a date.
Okay.
For sure. I'll be back in New York shortly.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Sounds great. Joseph, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
And guys, we will be right back after this short commercial break with our film review segment. Stay tuned.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a tude to match your attitude. Patent pending interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com or call 718-268-6634.
And we're back, guys. Welcome to Under the Radar. I'm your host, Randy Unger, and I have a wonderful panel of guest film critics today. Ladies first, Miss Jennifer Covey, Nick Commando, 1M, and Mr. Chris Clemente.
Hey.
How's it going, guys?
I'm alive.
Great.
You're here.
That's a plus.
Body and spirit, right?
Being alive is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. It's been a while since I've had all of you back.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a month ago for me.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been.
It's also been a long time.
Yeah, it has been a long time, and I'm happy you're here, all of you, all three of you. Because
good panel
the
moves.
couch fits three comfortably, so I
Yes.
thought it was appropriate to have three
Oh,
people.
yeah.
Well, every time I've been on here, I've been with a different group of people,
Yeah.
so I've actually networked a lot on this show, which
Perfect.
is great. So
Yeah.
I can sprawl out
Yeah.
in front of Nick. Very nice.
Well, no, the show is really about networking. It's about
Lay it across.
Exactly.
bringing movies
Bring
and
it.
people together,
That's
one
what I
frame
love.
at a time.
Frame at a time. Love it.
And yeah, we've got a few movies today. We've got three big ones today. First one, I personally wasn't a huge fan of this one. It's called Mobile Homes, and it's a thriller/drama starring, I'm going to butcher her name, Imogen?
Imogen Poots.
Imogen
Yeah,
Poots.
Imogen or something.
Yeah,
Yes.
The
she's
most unfortunate name in show business.
but she's a great actress.
it's memorable though. So
It is.
Really, that's
It is memorable.
unfortunate.
It's the type of name that you have to own. You know?
Yeah,
It's like,
Yeah.
you know, just bring it
I
with
just
you.
hope
kind of.
movie critics don't use that against her.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we are right now, but
Imogen really pooted
But
all
as
over
we
this.
do it,
as we do it, we're not doing it, or we are. So Jennifer, what did you think of this one?
you like to put me on emotional roller coasters.
Yeah.
And make me watch movies.
Also, I should give people.
Okay?
It's a thriller about a young woman. She's 29. She has a
was
6-year-old
He's like
Thriller?
6 or 7.
young son, and they go from trailer home to trailer
Wait,
home.
wait a minute. This was a thriller?
It has thriller-ish elements
I
to
felt
it.
like it was just a depressing drama.
It is depressing.
Oh,
sure.
it is
It just
depressing.
made me sad. Like it didn't. I wasn't thrilled when I watched it.
I had to stop this movie. I mean,
You had to
I had to stop it multiple times,
Wow.
like pause it, so that I could like go in the kitchen and like regain myself and
God.
like get like chocolate and something just to make myself
Yeah.
feel better.
I
That's how
didn't have that
depressing this movie
reaction,
was.
but yeah, Chris,
Yeah, I'm
what did you?
basically dead inside. I just watched.
Yeah,
I
it's.
want to hear more of Jen's reaction. No,
I think we cut off Jen when we were like, "How is this a thriller?"
Yeah. What flavor
Please,
ice cream was it?
Let Jen talk about her escapades. during
No,
this
I
movie.
mean, I didn't think it was a bad movie. I mean, it wasn't an amazing movie, but it was.
Yes.
What for me was like what made it good and bad at the same time is like as I was watching it, I'm like, oh my god, this happens to people.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? This wasn't like a cartoon or some like really depressing movie that was just so melodramatic. Like it was just realistic enough that I was
Yeah.
like, this is going on somewhere in
Yeah.
America right now.
Abusive significant others, basically being homeless.
Yeah.
and
Oh, and this kid is just missing in the first 15
And
minutes.
just-
They're like,
he's
oh,
out-
whatever, he's fine.
He's
like
playing.
he's 6.
He's playing. He's
Yeah.
fine.
Felt like by design, though.
Oh yeah.
I just got the vibe during the movie they didn't really want the kid there.
They don't, but that's
No, they
what I'm
don't,
saying
right.
is like
But
it happens.
I feel like it mostly came from the boyfriend, though. I feel like the boyfriend wanted to like push her.
Caitlin
to
Turner.
get rid of the kid.
Yeah, no, he
Yeah,
definitely
he's
did not
he's
want
gonna
that
be playing
kid.
Newt Scamander's brother in Fantastic Beasts 2.
Really?
And he this is his lead-off hit.
Well,
Watch me be an
he had
abusive-
a pretty good performance.
I thought he did a great job,
He was
though.
good, though.
The,
Yeah.
No, there's a
he
movie
did a
that
great
came out
job.
last year, The Only Living Boy in New York, where he plays a guy who falls in love with his dad's affair, played by Kate Beckinsale. They actually filmed it by my day job.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he was pretty good in that.
Sounds like you were the only living man who saw it.
I think so. Yeah, crickets.
Yes.
Yay! Hey,
I'm rolling.
Chris.
It might not be good.
Chris, what do you think? Mobile homes.
Out of the three, I would put this in the middle, between which I liked the most.
Wow.
I liked it. As in the sense of what a thriller is, I agree. There were moments that really captivated you, and you really felt like you were part of her life.
Yeah.
And for that, I think there was this quiet charm, if you will, about the movie that they just kind of followed her. It almost reminded me of Winter's Bone a little bit, just the way.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah, just the way that it kind of filmed this rough life, and I think cinematography style. I think I loved it. There were moments where I really enjoyed what they did with the camera work. There were moments with the boy where he was like looking up, and you heard and saw like the electricity through the wires, and you kind of saw the world through his lens, and I really enjoyed those type of moments.
It's a true like indie in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
The camera work,
Right.
the sound design. I agree
But
with that.
I thought production-wise, I thought they connected everything well. I thought it was great acting, great casting, as opposed to another indie-ish movie that we saw in this
Which one are you-
slot of movies.
Out of today?
Out of today's
Because I've made you
movies.
see some pretty bad ones
Yeah,
over the years.
You did, but you also, what I love about your film selections is that it allows us to kind of capture some cinema styles that you wouldn't normally see in your blockbuster films.
Yeah.
And I like this movie for that reason, is that, this is something that you would not normally see nowadays in a theater. And it's something that we should see. This is how the other half lives. And it's something that, like you mentioned, this is what people go through
It's
on a
sobering
day-to-day
to watch.
basis.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
just some people, have to do what she's going through, with sex and drugs and money. So, it's.
I mean, I thought
it's
that's like
yeah.
their performances were all really
Yeah,
good
yeah.
because, like I said, I had to stop because it was
Yeah.
just so believable that I
Right.
was like, I can't sit through all this at once.
Yeah, and you're like, what is going to happen with this kid?
Well, and also like I work with kids on
Okay.
the side, so I was like, no one's looking for this. I'm like, I was concerned, and I was like, wait, he's an actor.
Right.
Like,
It's pretty good.
I wanted to go look for him.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, there was just some great acting choices. Reminded me of another movie that we saw in this panel that there were just some great raw slices of life. And, like Jenna was mentioning, like it's not something that you want to see. And I think it's a great movie in this context where it's a complete drama where you have to shut it off and kind of take a breather, because that means that the director, the
Did a good job.
filmmakers
Yeah.
are connecting with you.
Yeah.
It feels like it was like just shot on someone's iPhone. Like this could have.
I would disagree.
It felt
yeah.
real.
In
that
a
respect.
good sense.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, oh, it was shot on an iPhone. It's
Right.
bad.
And that's
Or
like
it could
high
be
art
like, oh,
now,
wow,
yeah.
this was
Yeah.
shot on an iPhone. That's
Right.
great.
Yeah.
So it was, you meant the good way.
Yeah, I did
which,
mean
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Nick, thoughts? Mobile homes.
So it felt like Moana, but on crystal meth. And let me explain.
My
let me
3-year-old
explain
nephew loved Moana.
Well, don't show him this movie.
Don't show him this
seen
episode.
Moana.
That's actually, you should show him Moana and say, this is your brain. You should show him mobile homes and go, this is your brain on crystal meth. And he will never do crystal meth. It felt like at the beginning, like I felt like the story was going to focus on the kid. And it kind of did. And the mother just felt like the reluctant mother, kind of like how Maui was stuck with Moana. And they were like on a journey somewhere.
Yeah.
Man, I
Okay.
can't believe you're
Some
comparing
comparison.
See,
this
it
to a
actually
Disney
kind of
film.
does make sense.
Okay, I
It
see
wasn't
it.
just for that. But then as the movie progressed, it was more about the mother and her struggle and her issue.
Yes.
And it did kind of feel a little predictable at certain points where it was like, all right, well, obviously the boyfriend's going to be a piece of garbage. But then it was like, well, Imogen Poots is a piece of garbage. Like I just felt like most of the time she was like a garbage mother, just a garbage person.
Right.
I was
Hashtag
like,
garbage mother.
You know what? But it's one of those like, and this is gonna sound terrible, but you ever see like I worked in fast food a lot, so you kind of see specific people who spend a lot of time at your job.
I'm scared to
And
hear
it's
what's
like
happening.
it's like a mother comes in with the kid, and the mother is clearly a mess, and you're like, why did you do this? Why did you reproduce? Why do you have this kid? And you're just like, why? This is terrible.
She
like
might
you,
have not thought about it as much as you just thought about it for her. So.
Exactly. It's just like, I just felt like it really did feel too real. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, you are so dumb. What are you doing? Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And, and especially towards the end when it seemed like, oh, she literally stumbled into this situation that was actually good for her.
Yeah.
Where she, all this stuff happens. I tend to spoil a lot of the movies.
That's
I'm trying not to do that.
Okay.
And it was.
We're going the spoiler.
We're kind of it's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, but I don't know what a spoiler is because I don't believe in them. So I just avoid specifics on movies.
You're doing fine, Nick.
Okay, good. No. But it was.
They break out in song. They say you're welcome.
And everyone explodes.
wait.
I was waiting for that part. That I feel like that was the part where they were at the party. That felt like the irrelevant part. But it did feel very real, and and especially at the end, I was just mad at the kid. I was like, why would you go back to her? She tried to get rid of you all these times during the movie.
Yeah,
but
that's why I felt like when they ditched the kid at the beginning, it was like, and then the conversations that they had between each other, it was like, oh my God, he's trying to convince her to put the kid through foster care or just get rid of him,
Right.
so he can sell whatever they were selling.
Well, I was getting annoyed because
What were they selling? Like
Chickens.
Chickens, yeah.
Or chicken fighting implements.
Okay, all right.
Great.
All right. Well, that's what that
No,
was.
I remember at the
They
very
had the
beginning.
vacuum box, and I was like, "Why are they selling shop vacs? Like this is like black market shop vacs?"
I got annoyed because she didn't
Why is
know
that a
what
market?
CPS was at the beginning. She's like, "What's that?" I was like, "Who doesn't know what CPS is?" Even the
Yeah.
most the dumbest person
For
I
some
know.
reason, they got involved with a cockfighting endeavor. I don't know.
And I also didn't understand what set her off at the beginning of it, where she walked out of the office.
Yeah.
Because then what she does at the end of the movie, it was like, we didn't have to have this movie.
That's a spoil.
You could have done this at the beginning.
You're teetering on spoiler territory.
Another thing though is the kid walks walks out at the beginning, and the lady's just like, "Your kid walked out. Nobody stopped this kid
Right.
that's working at the CPS place. No one stopped the kid walking the street."
And she's like, he'll find his way home.
Yeah.
All right.
She is garbage. You're right.
It was, and that's a credit to Imogen Poots because she did a very good job.
Great job.
Being this horrible character that really is not endearing.
Yeah.
No,
I
not at all.
really don't know how at the end of the movie I kind of felt bad for her.
I never felt bad for her.
I don't
ever.
I did at certain points, like right at the end, I was like, "Oh, why are you doing this now? I don't want to like you, and I'm starting to like you because you're doing the one smart thing you should have done."
Right.
And then it ends.
It's interesting though because I think as we are looking at this film, we're very privileged, so we can really criticize her life choices. But obviously, this woman and the bar is very low for her, and for the people around her. So she's really doing what she has to do to survive.
Yeah.
So it's really, I think it allows us as a more cultured society to kind of look back and say, hey, it's great that you, Nick, said, hey, oh my God, I started to like you, and all of a sudden, bam, you're doing this. And I think it really allows a different type of segment of society to really feel for these characters and really feel for her.
I mean,
that last scene, no spoilers, but it was so minimal and so simplistic, but so powerful. And it was great. And
the very last shot.
The very last shot. Well, just the lead up into that shot,
that was the best part of the movie. I'd say that's the best part.
Definitely because it ended, but I kind
Yeah.
of had to hold my breath a little bit.
Nice.
It was great.
But she also came off to me, I kind of felt like she was that girl in high school that you went to high school with, and she was very well adjusted and everything. And then she made one bad decision after high school.
Yeah.
And it just snowballed
It's
into
spiraled
this
out of
mess.
control. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. So I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I really didn't have that same type of sympathy for her. Where
Yeah.
it's like, oh well, I live my life. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you made one bad decision and just couldn't recover from it.
Right.
So maybe that just makes me sound like a jerk.
And also,
but-
I mean, even people that are in and I say this loosely, the lowest class or in those situations, sometimes they're still trying to be good mothers, and I feel like she was just it's fine.
It felt like she just pick and chose her spots when she wanted to.
Yeah.
I think
care
deep
about
down
the
she was
kid.
a good mother, though.
And also,
but
Very deep down.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I know people who have been in really rough situations who still put their kid first, and I feel like for her it was what does the boyfriend want to do? Let's ask him.
The other thing that made me angry too is that the kid's name is Bone. What kind of name is Bone?
Well, somebody who is selling, biting.
It's appropriate for
chickens.
It could be a nickname that just kind of followed through.
Kind of just stuck with him.
They didn't really project the birth certificate on there.
It's true.
All right, guys. So we're gonna move ahead, full steam
Moving
ahead,
on.
past mobile homes.
On a speedboat.
On a speedboat.
Yeah.
With speed kills.
You like what I did there?
No, I like that a lot, actually. No, basically we got this. This is a strange one. This is sort of a thriller/drama, starring the once great John Travolta. Isn't that
Once great. I think it's still good.
Yeah.
Well put.
Well watched it with me.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed this one. He plays a speedboat businessman tycoon.
It's based off of a real life person.
Yeah.
Don Aronow.
Is he a real person?
At the end of
because I looked it up, I couldn't find anything.
Well, during the credits, they actually played news reports of the actual person it's based off of.
So
it's based off of a book, Speed Kills, about the guy. His name is Don Aronow, and he actually by the way.
So it's not Ben, it's Don.
Well, John Travolta's character is Ben Aronoff. And the real guy is Don Aronow,
Well, that makes
which
sense.
I was like, wow, they just didn't even try with the name change. They were just like, well, that guy's name is Donald. What should we name this guy? Let's call him Ben Aronoff.
Wait, so they couldn't get the rights to his...
I assume so, but it was like you used the book, so...
Yeah, no, I was a little confused by that.
His name in there.
Okay.
You know? But
anyway, he's involved with the mob. He's distancing himself from his family.
Another relatable situation.
Right?
You really gave us like two ends of the
I
spectrum this
know.
week, man.
You really made a bad decision here.
Squalor.
That's under the radar, folks.
Chicken fighting, and then mafia boats, and Matthew Modine as George H.W. Bush.
Yes.
And John Travolta wearing way too much foundation.
Oh, God. No, the
I
Botox is
feel
nuts.
like he takes jobs now based on how much makeup he gets away.
Maybe.
I really feel like that's
Although
how...
to be fair, and I don't know if you guys are actors too, but like it's very difficult to play somebody that's based on a real person. I will give him, like, you know what I mean? Everyone's saying, oh, he's getting worse or whatever, but like
have
it's
anything against
hard.
his performance necessarily.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought he was fine.
He was his standard Travolta self.
He tends to, and I'm not somebody that's seen a lot of Travolta movies recently, but it seems like he's very comfortable taking that character who's kind of conflicted but also kind of endearing in a way.
Yeah.
You know, like he
I feel
doesn't.
like he's like always like a dad.
Yeah, like he seems like in this movie he tries to put himself above his business dealings when you're working with the mob, dude.
Yeah.
Like you're just like them. Just because you're not walking around wearing a chain and your name is Vito, that doesn't change anything. You work for the mob.
It did feel like
Right.
he kind of just went off to another stage set and just been like, all right, now I'm this
And
guy.
this movie also,
Gotti.
Gotti. Thank you. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, that's right. I
It's
forgot
like, okay,
about
I'm just gonna do this
Yeah.
movie now.
I forgot about that. You're right.
he's still tan
Same
from
line.
Gotti. Quick, come on,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Come over
It's
here.
like, I used Gotti just as warm up for this.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
See, this one I did the exact opposite. Like Mobile Homes, I was like so emotionally invested. I was like, I can't watch this. Whereas
Yeah.
this one, I like played it, and then I was kind of like looking at my phone, and then I was like looking around, and then I was like, oh right, I'm watching a movie. So it didn't draw me in as
So
emotionally.
you're not
as,
a huge Travolta fan?
I do love Travolta. I do. I like, but I always watch him in like musicals and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I like him a lot, but it's just I don't know. I just didn't feel like I could connect to the storyline. Maybe because I am not in the mob. I don't know.
Maybe. Thank God.
Miami.
It just for me, this one felt more like I was like you ever watch a movie and you don't feel like you're watching a movie. You feel like you're a part of it.
It's just like background.
Yeah, this I felt like I was watching a movie. The other one I didn't feel. I felt like I was involved.
I was pretty invested. I enjoyed the story.
Yeah, you liked it.
I liked it.
I'm
It
surprised.
was,
Well,
I didn't
I'm
dislike
not
it. I was just
surprised.
neutral. Is what I'm saying.
You like the big talent.
I
in
do.
the
I like
movies,
big
yeah.
names, and I see where they're going to go with the role.
Yeah.
It was compelling at some parts, but
Yeah.
for like the fifth time this show, my fiance hates you for making me watch this movie.
I'm so
Because-
Why?
sorry.
You still haven't said yes.
Well, the problem with the movie is, I was waiting for somebody to ask me.
I put it out
Now
there
I'm
for
just
you.
going to shove it out.
I just said
I
why.
appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. No, the problem with this movie is the time jumps were terrible.
Right.
They
Yes.
didn't tell you we're jumping 10 years.
Yeah.
For just like it was like he went
they
to
don't age
Miami
enough
with his
to,
family.
know.
Then all of a sudden, nah, family's gone. And it was like, no wait, his
Yeah.
son is a paraplegic now, and I'm gonna buy him a
wasn't-
horse farm.
it wasn't
okay,
fluid.
fast forward. Now he's with some blonde chick and they have a kid.
Right.
It's like, well, where did
Yeah.
that
But
come
his hair
from?
stayed the same.
Exactly the
That's the thing, it
same.
wasn't fluid, they
Time.
didn't
It was
change
just
it,
like
you're
they
right.
took less foundation off. It's like they just like between takes they went up to him.
Right.
It's like a little
Alright,
thing with
next
makeup
scene.
remover. And it was like, all right, you fast forward 5 years now, John. You're good. Let's go. It was just.
I'll agree with that
Yeah.
criticism. Yeah.
It was just a strange movie because it was like
Yeah.
I feel like both these movies that we've talked about is like if the thing at the beginning we just saw what happened at the beginning go through the way it should have, we wouldn't have had to watch these movies
Yeah.
because they would have just
point.
ended there. It would have been like a 5-minute short. And I was like, all right, well let's watch a good movie now.
Yeah, I was not invested in this movie
No.
at all.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It was
it's
not.
just-
I was just like,
He
eh,
wasn't-
it's fine.
it was
He wasn't
tonal,
endearing.
And I
It wasn't-
don't even know if it
I
was
think-
him though. I think it was just like I
The
said,
world around him,
Yeah,
and
it
the
just didn't
circumstances.
feel real to me. It was like, all right, here's another
It just-
thing.
It really did feel like you were watching a movie.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you're
the best way to
absolutely
describe
right.
it. It wasn't.
You're
It was a
absolutely
bad movie. It just. I felt like I was watching a movie.
Yeah, it
And it
was-
wasn't him. It was just everybody. And
It was just
Yeah, there was some
Lackluster.
great talent in there, but everyone's acting was really off.
And even
felt like-
Tom
But the
Sizemore.
chemistry between them though.
Right,
Sometimes
that's-
it's not
that's probably
necessarily their
exactly it. Yeah,
performance.
yeah.
You know?
Even Tom Sizemore pops up.
Yeah.
Randomly doing like a one-day job of
I mean, I
acting.
don't know. I forget who directed this, but maybe it was one of those things where they're like, let's put as many famous people in as we
Yeah.
can get to do
Yeah.
it, and then see
It
what
also,
happens.
it also kind of felt like they were just sort of doing, and listen, I'm not an actor in any way, but it almost felt like they were kind of doing a table read at each other.
Yes.
Like they just had like little index cards in their pocket.
They're just reading.
And they were like, "You work for us. I don't know what you're talking about." And it's like, but it's like there wasn't a connection.
So like a
Yeah.
rehearsal in
Yeah,
a
it
way,
felt like
but
we
they
watched
just
the
filmed it. It's like,
rehearsal, but
let's
not-
just use that.
yeah.
Right.
But
I mean,
it's also
yeah, Travolta's acting was a little bit better than the rest, but I felt like everyone was on a different page, and tonally it just felt really off to me.
Okay.
It felt like one
Yeah.
of those movies that like, oh well, let's just slap a big name on it and they'll be able to
Yeah.
carry it.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Saying, yeah.
Travolta's at that point in his career anymore where you
Yeah.
can just put his name on something
Right.
it's going to carry.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
same thing
he
with
was-
Like Gotti, I can understand. I'll go see Gotti because
Yeah.
that's a compelling character I know about.
Right.
And John Travolta is a guy who I could imagine would really
And he was
eat
even
that role up.
he was even great playing the O.J. Simpson lawyer.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
very good.
That
in
was
good in
terrific.
that,
He
yeah.
was very good in that. But the
So-
problem is he's made the same facial expressions for like the past like
He's
3 or 4
frozen.
things I've seen him in. He did
The Botox is too much. John, come on. No.
Yeah.
American Crime Story where he's just like
Yeah.
and he does Gotti and he's like
Yeah.
he does
That's
like
why
he's
they're
doing
hiring
this
him.
as Gotti.
he goes,
How he's getting the role.
he just really breathes in deep in a lot of his
Yeah.
Yeah.
just like that, yeah. Yeah.
That's acting,
I
apparently.
don't know. He's at the stage now, and you could say this with a lot of like the iconic actors, where they want to take on roles. I feel like that are just bigger than them, you know. So like that's why they go for, kind of these other
Nobody's told
characters.
them they should be
Yeah.
in a transition part of their career.
Right.
Well, also,
like
actors are
almost-
told a lot. Like, I mean, at least from a female perspective. Like,
And an actress's perspective.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I can't speak for men, but like for women, it's like, oh, you got to get all these roles and do this at this time. You're young, do this. You know what I mean? I feel like, and then everybody gets all this Botox or whatever else to keep them looking and playing those young characters. But I think you need to let yourself grow along with the roles.
Yeah.
Like he can start playing, a 65, 70-year-old man. I mean, I know he doesn't necessarily look like that, but
He's,
you're in that point
60
in your life.
64 now, I think.
Yeah, so you don't have to be trying to play like 40-year-olds and like
Yeah.
getting it in there, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like,
exactly.
But it's like,
Good
like
point.
Alec Baldwin, for example, who kind of to me just kind of feels like that same part of Hollywood, that same
Yeah, that
age
older
range.
kind of
He-
debonair.
Every time I see Alec Baldwin at this point, he's playing somebody's father. He's playing, an FBI director,
Businessman.
a businessman.
Right.
He's playing a character that fits his name and age. Where
Right.
it's like, okay, I could see Alec Baldwin doing that at this point in his career. Like that's.
but what I'm saying is a lot of times they tell you to try to stay young as
Well, yeah,
long as
yeah,
possible.
Right,
and it's
right.
like it's actually I think it's hindering people's performances
Right.
sometimes
Yeah.
because
They're stuck in
they're
one
stuck
spot.
in one
And-
thing.
and-
Yeah.
And you would also think too that like somebody like John Travolta, with all the movies he's done, all the famous projects he's been a part of, that he'd be above that.
Yeah.
He'd be like, no, I'm just going to do what I want. I'm John, which could very well
Or
be
could
what
be
he's
his
doing, and we
agent
just
just
don't
being
like
like, you
it.
have to do this to get more jobs. That's what
Exactly,
happens.
yeah.
I haven't seen a notable Travolta performance though in the last 5 years though.
Yeah.
I don't know
But
if you
that's
guys.
whoever his that's what I'm saying. That's
Well,
whoever his
the O.J.
agency
Simpson,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying too, like that transition where it's like he doesn't need to be doing like this is going to be a bit of a stretch, but like Alan Arkin, for example.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You know, he won an Oscar because he was the grandmother in Little Miss Sunshine.
Grandfather.
Grandfather.
Like,
And
huh?
that's an
Man.
acting challenge.
Well, John Travolta played a woman in Hairspray. So.
Well, yeah, but it's like that. Those like he should. I don't necessarily think that a role like this is something like you could have just done 2 actors. You could have done a younger version of John Travolta's character.
That's a good point too.
With somebody else.
Right,
and
right.
Then you fast forward to John Travolta being
That would have been
older.
more realistic. Yeah.
It would have made more
better.
sense.
More impactful.
I
Yeah.
don't need to see John Travolta wearing all this, makeup to hide the fact that he's in his 60s.
Right.
Right.
Or just do the CGI thing like they did with Kurt Russell.
Right.
in Raiders of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Good
Like,
idea.
you have the
They didn't have the
technology.
money though. They didn't have the budget for that, I guess.
Yeah, you got to respect an actor who kind of like picks and chooses his projects a little bit, or her projects.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But going back to the plot, though, I mean, like, what really just
It was a little messy.
kind of just,
Yeah.
kind of takes me out of the film. It's just like this. It's like Trouble in Paradise type of like. All right, I get it, but like at the same time, you guys are enjoying life, and it didn't allow me to really enjoy or find any likability in the character.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a great scene. Well, it's based off of real life that he died at the end, got shot at the end, right? But
That's not a spoiler. That
not a
actually
spoiler.
happened.
The way-
happened, right?
Yeah, that the
But, like-
exact way that it
but like
happened.
I was like,
in the movie.
all right, that kind of makes
Yeah.
sense because of the crap that he did. So.
Right. It makes sense.
The time jumps. It was just
Yeah.
to me it was the time jumps
Yeah.
just took away from the plot because it's like, oh well, we're just getting used to him doing this, and then all of a sudden it's 5 years later.
Yeah.
It's like, well, wait, but he was just, and then like the voiceover thing.
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah,
him
right.
voicing
That
it
wasn't
over,
really needed.
I was never there for him, but I wanted to buy him some happiness.
Yeah.
What?
I'm dead, but I'm talking.
Why are you?
How is this
Right
happening?
now.
Why do we need you to narrate this? Like we see what's happening.
They were trying to do like American Beauty. with,
Yeah.
like-
Or kind of Goodfellas in a way.
Right.
Yeah, but
It
American
makes-
Beauty, they did it
Yeah.
just
They did.
not like they did it so subtly, like it wasn't all like
Right.
frequent,
And that's a great
And
movie.
it was all
It's
about a
yeah, one of my
reflection,
favorites.
right? It was all about his ups and downs, whereas this was like,
All right, guys. So we only have a few minutes left
Yes.
for our
yes, let's
final.
talk about this one.
Let's talk about a
Yes.
decent movie, right?
Yeah, the
I
one I
hope it-
didn't.
The one you did.
Oh my
Let's
God!
talk about
Nick.
how hard it was to find a place to see this
Yes.
movie.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoa,
when you
not
got
in the
Jonah
city,
Hill's name on it
but-
at this point. You
Yeah.
would think that
Yeah.
it would be everywhere.
It wasn't.
Oh my God!
So guys, we've got mid-90s. It's basically a coming-of-age drama directed by Jonah Hill, written and directed by Jonah
Yes.
Hill, about a 12-year-old kid who falls in with the wrong crowd, a skating group of kids in LA circa like, it was it 95, 94?
Skateboard.
95, yeah.
Yeah.
95-ish.
Yeah.
And basically he finds out about himself through violence, through drinking,
Yeah.
through
This
just
movie kind of reminded me of this is Almost Famous is what it reminded me of in the
Yeah.
sense of like he goes
Yeah.
on this journey of
Yeah,
like
he-
by accident.
Yeah.
Like that's when I was watching. I was like, this kind of like a little different, but like
Yeah.
I remember the Almost Famous guy like was like, oh hi, and then somehow he just ended up with this whole
he's
group
so
of people.
innocent
Yeah.
and he's so corrupted by these
yeah,
guys.
So
It's
kind of
crazy.
this kid reminded me of that kid.
Oh,
in that movie.
Nice.
God, I love this film.
Yeah.
I love this film. I could relate to it. I felt,
Did
so
you drink a
much
40
emotion.
while skating down?
I did. That was my youth.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that was not my youth at all. But there are elements in here that just brought me back from the very get-go. I have an older brother.
Okay.
And
Shit.
he didn't give me a pounding like this. His brother
Yeah.
did, but. Like that first scene where he just smacks into that, I did that, or like going into my brother's room and like just looking at his CD collection or his clothes, and it's very formative. And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I did that stuff. So
There
it
are
really
moments that
brought me
feel
back.
so like you can identify with.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I feel like
God.
everybody that was a teenager, either in the '90s or like up to the mid 2000s,
Yeah.
like knew somebody that was like this, was this. Like, I mean, I could name like 50 skate kids that I went to school with that I still remember. I was not part of that
Yeah.
crowd,
Right.
People that
but
still
like,
skate.
But
right,
they are-
but I
they
mean, like, I knew
exist.
people on different levels,
Yeah.
like that weren't as in as some of these
Yeah.
people,
Right.
but like would just go to the back of the bank parking lot
Yeah.
and like just skate around for hours, and it was just realistically portrayed.
It was
Cops
great.
kicked them out.
Yeah.
What I loved about the film, about the acting, is that if you take every individual character, they seem very simplistic, but there's a lot of layers to each character.
Yeah.
Just buried within the kid's brother. I love
Lucas
his
Hedges.
character. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved his character because he did play that older brother who was kind of a dick, but he did have this way of loving his brother.
Yeah.
That was kind of hidden inside. Like when when after the kid got involved in drugs and everything and came home late, drunk and in a stupor, when he was kind of racing him around the house, beating him up, and then when he cried, when he cried, it felt like so disjointed, but at the same time, it was like you could tell that he has so much love for his brother that he just didn't know how to communicate that, and I thought that was beautiful.
That's kind of like teenagers, though.
Yeah, that's
but
exactly
it.
They're
was
very
like,
simplistic, and there's not much there when you look at them or when you talk to them necessarily.
No, it's right. Yeah.
But if you get into a really in-depth conversation, you watch them interact, you watch them react to stuff. There's a lot more going on than just, oh no, how's school? It's good. What'd you do? Nothing. Like
they've got them.
There's more
their
going on.
guards
they
up.
just don't
well, also
wanna
I feel
talk
like
about
the time period was portrayed correctly too. You
Yep.
know, I think we forget now. Like a lot of teenagers and kids now are just so glued to phones and stuff like that.
Yep.
I was watching it. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. There was a life before we used to do all of that. It was like a nice refresher of
Like
that.
they would just sit around skating and talking.
Yeah, they used to do that.
I don't think
yeah.
that exists anymore.
Not
with,
really, as
with
far as I know.
tablets and phones.
And I love the aspect ratio. It was kind of boxy, which kind of felt like it was
The
almost
90s.
like
Oh, yeah, it was-
Yeah, like the
camcorder,
camcorders. Yeah.
It was standard. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
noticed that. It's very
Yeah,
nice.
it was-
touch.
Also, a lot of the
great.
shots were pretty simple. Not simple, but like were more like 90s movies.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
how like now we have all this like cool fast movement and all that, and they didn't have any of that in this. And I
Yeah.
thought it was like a nice way of being like, this is the 90s.
It felt real. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of remember it that way in a way.
That's exactly like when I think about the 90s. It
Even
was
at
the
11.
colors of this movie.
And stuff like that is so rarely used today that it feels really special when
Yeah.
it is. Where it's like
Yep.
you don't use all of the CGI and all the opportunities you have in front of you to just add to it and add to it and add to it. It's
Just
like,
make
well,
a good story.
less
Yeah.
is more a lot of the time. If you take away and just make it about the story of the kids and
Yeah.
skateboarding and
Yeah.
all that, you're gonna have a good movie.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly what this is. And Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Is this his directorial
Yeah,
this
debut?
is
His
his
debut,
directorial
yeah.
debut, and it's just perfect for him.
Yeah.
I think he's the king of coming of age movies. I love.
I also feel like
Superbad.
he played to his audience with
Yes.
picking whatever his movie
Yep.
was, because
'Cause
he was
he
like,
grew
all
up-
of the people, all the
Yeah.
people that like watched me were this kid in the 90s.
Yeah.
So let me just make a movie about
I
it.
felt the same way with Superbad in a
Yeah.
way.
Well,
Yeah.
In a way.
I don't
love
think he
Superbad.
gets. I don't think he gets enough credit as an actor for being as versatile as he is.
He's
because
very
He's
versatile,
done stuff
yeah.
like Superbad,
Yeah.
but my favorite time that I've seen him was Moneyball, because he
That was
played
his
a
Oscar
much,
nomination, yeah.
He played a much more subdued character, socially awkward, not necessarily, overt like a lot of his characters usually are.
Right.
So to me, that's where he really makes his money for me.
For me, it was Cypress. Cypress, I thought was a.
Oh, Cyrus.
Cyrus.
With John C. Reilly
yes,
and
yes. I
Marissa
thought,
Tomei? Yeah.
I thought like.
My first
I
Blu-ray,
thought-
by the way.
Yeah. I thought
Random note.
he was really versatile. He still has to prove something to me. Like I don't think he's.
Yeah, I don't know that
He
much
hasn't-
about
yeah.
him.
He's
but
just
I
kind of
don't
a
dislike him.
goofy leading
when I
man.
give
I know who he is, and I've seen
Right.
a couple of his things, but I'm not invested
But like,
in him in any way.
I didn't get the draw to Moneyball. Like I thought like it was just him being kind of placid, but
Yeah.
like I liked him a little bit more with Wolf of Wall Street. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I
but
love The Sitter. I don't know if you guys saw that
The
one.
Sitter was great, and
It's-
I think that's his wheelhouse. I think
Yeah.
within comedy, if he kind of finds these roles that kind of fits his pseudotype, but in a way that makes him more dramatic, I think that's great.
Yeah.
But I think this, as a directorial debut, I would love to see more.
I
Yeah.
definitely want to see him branch into
Yeah,
other
yeah.
genres,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Kind
and
of like
it-
Ben Stiller, almost.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He hasn't had that career-defining role or moment yet.
Not
That's the
yet.
thing.
He's still kind of young.
He's still
getting there.
Still cooking a
Yeah.
little
Right.
bit. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this movie reminds me a lot of the independent drama Kids from 1995.
I know what the poster
If you
looks
haven't
like.
seen
I've
it,
not seen it though.
It feels like a documentary. They filmed these skateboarding kids, and it's a drama. Rosario Dawson's first film, actually. She's like 15. See
Okay.
this movie if you haven't already. It's fantastic.
She's my on-screen crush.
Is she really?
She is.
Oh, interesting.
Kathy, my wife knows, yeah. But man, yeah.
Okay. So, guys, we only have a minute left,
I
unfortunately.
know what I'm watching tonight.
We only have a minute left. Final thoughts on mid-90s, Jennifer?
No, I think if you grew up in the 90s or 2000s, I think you'd like this movie and you could
Nice.
relate to it. Yeah.
Cool. Nick, you didn't see it?
I was 5 in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Me too.
Nice.
Just 5.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
He's a
that's
baby.
painful.
1995 would have been literally the mid-90s So I would have been 5 years old.
It's good math. Yeah. Good math skills, Nick.
I loved
I know you did.
It's going to be in my top 10. And
I concur with that.
Yeah, it's just, it plays with my sweet spot a lot. And it's just, I'm a big fan of just the small moments in movies, and this has a lot of them.
And now we mentioned how we were looking for Jonah Hill's future career as a director.
Yeah.
I want to see more of the leading actor, Sonny Suljic.
Yeah.
He had a small part in The House with a Clock Within Its Walls.
Okay.
And yeah, this kid has a future, like a serious acting future.
Okay. Yeah.
He's only 12 years old, 13 now, I think, but.
Wow,
he is phenomenal.
I've seen The Clock, and I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah. He was like the bullyish kind of kid.
Great. Oh, he was great in that.
He's great actor.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Perfect. So we're about out of time, but first, plugs. Jennifer, what do you got to plug?
You can follow me on Instagram, j.co100. You can see me dressed in costume and my puppies.
No. Nice. Nick.
The wrestling podcast about wrestling has returned. We have a couple new episodes up, talking about recent pay-per-views and such. I also started my own little podcast about baseball called Nick's Natscast. That's available anywhere you get podcasts, as is the wrestling podcast about wrestling. And I also have a movie podcast that I'm working on about movies that I haven't seen. So that's coming eventually.
There you go.
Very cool. Two things I would like to plug. I'm an associate producer for Foreign Nationals. It's a TV pilot that we're creating into a series. We were just screened at the New York Film and Television Summit Festival. We were nominated for 4 awards. Very, very passionate about this project. Can't wait to make it go further. And 2, it's Movember. It's a month that we try to support research and understanding of pancreatic cancer and men's mental health. And I'm doing a little bit, there you go. I'm doing a little bit of fundraising through bit.ly.com. It's bit.ly/ChrisMovember. You can donate there. I'm setting up a Kickstarter where we will be at Nighthawk filming or seeing the film Tombstone. So we're going to be watching some mustache movies while in good favor for men's health. So stay tuned for that.
Cool. Awesome. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And also some upcoming events from our sponsor, Magnitude Jewelry. November 15th, the Boom Business Expo at the Huntington Hilton. For more information, go to boombiznet.com. Also, November 18th, the Awaken Fair at the Doubletree Hotel in Tarrytown. For more information on that, awakenfair.com. I want to thank everyone who's been on the show today. Joseph Culp for phoning in from France. That was amazing. And my wonderful panel of guest critics today, Jennifer Colvey, Nick Commando 1M, and Mr. Chris Clemente. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, just 1M.
Just 1M.
Clemente.
All right, guys. Well, that is our show.
I can spell my last name.
Yeah. Good job, guys. I want to thank everyone who's been watching at home and on your devices. I'm your host, Randy Unger. This is Unger the Radar, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Under the Radar is all new next week at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with more movie reviews and interviews on Strong Island Radio and Television. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week.